points might be. Oh,
There you
great.
go.
Yay,
There you go.
Rick.
Stellar. Okay, the other thing I noticed is that there's a definite value of shooting regularly. From looking at what people submitted, it was clear that some people photograph very frequently, if not every day. And then the flip side is carrying a camera around. Your phone may be satisfactory for many things, but not everything. Many of the images that were submitted would have been more difficult to get with a phone or with many of the phones. Okay, each person submitted 6 or more images, and they selected the order. In a couple of cases, folks submitted more than 6, and I had arbitrarily chosen 6 to show because of the number that we have. And in 2 cases, both of those cases, I juggled the order around a little because some of the out images were better than the first 6. And then one person submitted 20 and said I should pick. And so I did. Okay, I'm starting at the back of the alphabet just as a change. So, and I'm going to go through them. We'll go through them quickly, and then you can we can all discuss when we return to them. So first, we're starting with Maynard's.
Huh.
Okay, Jeff Shornix, he's not able to be with us.
Wait a minute. What are we
What?
doing? We're looking at everything, and then we're
Well,
going to
yeah,
come back.
just quickly, we'll go back to them. We just want to look at all of them so you know what's coming.
Okay. I know that place.
Okay, Bills. Mine. Bob's. Okay, phase. Okay, so now we'll go back to the beginning and talk about each. Okay, so first Maynard's.
West Cove Beach A.
Yeah, I love it. You know, if the buoys weren't there or whatever you want to call that, it would have been you know, an abstract and you wouldn't have known what it was, whether this was water or snow.
So Maynard, why did you put it in black and white like that and actually sort of overexpose it so it would be just the objects?
Yeah, well, I didn't think color was going to add anything to it, or didn't add anything to it. And I was more interested in playing with black and white and just getting this, it just looked better to me that way. And a nice leading line that the buoys are supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you change the exposure after you took away the color?
Oh, I played with everything.
Good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the buoys create a diagonal line that keeps your eye in the image very effectively.
Yeah. Well done.
Shall we go on? Or-
Yeah.
Okay,
I went to a concert here in Atlanta in the middle school. And I was able to take some pictures. It's just this isolating this guy playing his saxophone. I thought it was a nice study in a concentrated musician. Amazing what you can do with a telephoto sitting in the audience or something like that. But of course, I cropped it.
yeah. Mm,
Okay.
yeah,
Now, that's an image from the Salton Sea in Southern California with the salt encrusted tires in the foreground that are placed there almost purposefully. And then the birds and the mountains beyond. It's 15 miles across that lake. But I just thought it was an interesting document, really more of a documentary picture of the Salton Sea with all the elements from the salt, the dehydration, the bird sanctuary, and the dry, arid southern mountains.
mm,
I need to do better with my depth of field. I would have liked the tires to be a little sharper.
yeah.
I think I was focusing on the rocks in the water. And I don't remember the f-stop on that. Probably.
Yeah, the rocks certainly do. The rocks in the middle look sharp. These don't.
I focus a third of the way into the picture in something like this, hoping that
Yeah.
the whole thing will be in focus as my approximation of the depth of field calculation.
You know,
What would you say your center of attention is on this picture?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the tires are really are the unusual picture there. Otherwise, it could be anywhere. But that's really, I think, what makes this location unique. So they should have been sharper.
Maynard, for what it's worth, I've done focus stacking for things like this. Take 3 shots with 3 different focuses.
You're right. That would be a good place for it.
Or shoot it with an iPhone where you have far more depth of field.
Or put the camera on a tripod and use f/22. I'm sure there was enough light anyway for a
Yes,
small aperture.
Right.
So I'm wondering if you, Maynard, if you have right now you're standing and it looks like you're sort of looking out past the tires, past the rocks and sort of through the edge of the birds. Did you consider angling your camera in a different direction so that you look square on to the tires, then through the birds, of which there are more of them to the right, and to the mountains beyond? Did you play around? Do you have other versions of this with different angles?
Yeah, I was with the family and catching things pretty quickly. It was, I wish I was alone and could do that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one of our photo modes, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the aggravation or the disgusted photographer mode.
Honey, hang on just a second while I take one more picture.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, certainly if you had moved over to the left,
Yeah.
as Sally's suggesting, you have a different sort of axis that would have gone perhaps, the tires would have been a little more into the picture and the mountains would have been maybe in the middle and the birds would have been in the middle.
Right.
You know, if I may say that, you know, it seems like your subject is the tires and the rest is the background, but the subject doesn't really snap for me in this. It would have to be a little different to make the tires stand out as the subject.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm misunderstanding what you were doing, but it's a cool place.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you got real close to the tires, you know, as well as moved over to the left and had a wider field of view so that it was a photograph mostly of the tires, but you'd catch the background.
Right.
It would be different, but maybe more interesting.
The next time I'm out there, I'll try that.
Yeah, right.
But why are there
Right.
tires on this beach?
What?
Why are there tires?
Don't know. Some of them have holes punctured in them and are more buried so they would fill with sand as perhaps erosion control, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
There were a lot of them, but it was purposeful. It wasn't just, it was in a localized area.
Yeah, it's not trash. Okay.
It looks like it was a retired beach.
Oh, there you go. We're not going to start puns here, are we?
Sorry.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Being a mushroom person, I had to put a portrait in. of the-
Yes, this was a good year for mushroom shots.
The Caesars was out there, and it's one of the few edibles we have.
I'm not going to comment on what it looks like.
Double entendre.
Yes, a double entendre.
Very nice.
Yeah.
This is in the Joshua Tree National Forest. We hiked into an old defunct mine, and there was some defunct cars there. And it was just fun to take a picture of this, what Mother Nature does to the truck when you leave it behind in the desert.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you can really get an appreciation for what the chords of the tire are. Wow,
Nice.
yeah.
That's another photo mode of deteriorating objects.
You're right.
Right.
What the heck is this?
This is the Mill Pond Dam,
Oh,
Mill Pond Spillway.
I thought those were reeds or something growing. I get it.
Perspective.
Yeah, well, we're so used to seeing waterfalls straight on. Here he's sort of looking obliquely from above.
Yeah, it's always fascinating up there.
Maynard, did you intentionally have this vertical instead of horizontal? It looks like it's flipped,
Well, it's the way I took it.
really.
Yeah.
It's the way I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
it. Yeah, I
I
could
mean,
have,
I've been at that dam at the Mill Pond too, and it just, I never looked at it at that angle.
but you walk up to it and look down on it, and that's what you see.
Yeah,
Yep.
Now I could put my drone directly over it and shoot straight down.
And you could. Show us what that would be. Or we could just rotate it too.
Yeah,
But it's endlessly fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, Jeff isn't with us. He sent me 20 images and he said, you pick them. So he had a tremendous variety, as you can see. And he's one of these people who has gone out most mornings with his camera, just taking walks. I don't know where this is. Sally, you suggested you knew where it was.
I like the symmetry and the reflection.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've got some of those trees in West Cove.
that's the big island from the West Cove side, looking out at it. And obviously the trees have been bent down with the snow and the ice, and they've not really popped up yet. So it's a spring picture.
Mhm.
Do you know where this is?
I think I do.
North Grantham.
Yes, the barn on Old Route 10 up near exit 14.
Yep.
Yeah. 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 So many people just drive by it. It looks now like it's ready to collapse, finally.
Yeah, I
So,
wouldn't go
if
in.
you're- Yeah, well, no, don't go in. But if you've ever had an inkling to photograph this kind of deterioration, go soon. Now,
Hey, go back to that one for a minute, Fred. In the middle of it, that little Y-shaped, I wonder if one, yeah, where your arrow is, if you isolated something like that, I think you could get more pictures out of this.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Somebody
I mean,
tied a
many of the
shoelace there.
Many of the windows are interesting. Like this one on the left.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of pictures there.
Okay, I don't know who these people are or where this was taken, someplace in New Hampshire, but I think it's neat that you have three pairs of eyes almost all looking at you.
There's a
Yes.
cedar strip canoe hanging there
Yes, back,
on the upper right quadrant.
Yeah,
It looks like it's a woodworker's place.
And maple grades have
maple-
changed.
Yeah, and it could
Okay.
be a maple syrup house, you know, that this is a sugaring house. Because look at all the wood.
yeah.
It's definitely a winter picture. But I like the fact that the people are all masked and the cat has its own mask built in.
Right. Yeah,
The attitude of the cat.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, I combined these two images when I was going through his pile. I realized this is the obvious. It's the same area, a different season, and this was a panorama version, whereas this was just a single image that he cropped. But it's amazing how the change of the leaves, the foliage, makes it so different.
I
Oh,
think
that's the same
bottom
place.
the bottom
Yeah.
picture is much more interesting. The
Yes.
top one, you don't get that sense of definition in the little kind of dark area on the right doesn't really stand out, but when you look at the panel on the bottom, it really, you have the sense almost like it's a cave. So I
Yeah.
definitely prefer the bottom image.
Yeah. This is an image that he actually gave a title to. He called it Metaphor of America.
Huh.
Notice the deteriorating flag, the red areas. We don't want to get too political here, but there's substrate for discussion.
Looks like someone's locked out also.
Yeah, oh yeah,
It's definitely an old barn.
yeah,
And
Well,
you
there
could,
is red, white, and blue there, along with the tattered flag.
and
yes,
you
And
could
some
probably make,
life on the bottom.
you could probably make something of the handles, the left handle and the right handle,
Oh, there you go. And the door
Yeah.
lock.
and the door lock.
right,
In the middle.
Stalemate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. That's what I would call it.
right.
Oh, boy.
Okay, this is, you might wonder, well, why is he including this in a collection of his best or particular images of interest from the past year? Well, his family and his wife, that's his wife, Brenda, they're all going through a terrible experience right now, to say the least. She's been ill for about 8 months, and the illness is going to claim her sometime in the near future, despite modern medicine. It's really, it's a very sad situation, and he's probably keeping this as a memento of the the saga.
This is a better day out of that whole sequence.
Who's the
You
harpist?
know, I don't know. I don't know.
Is it Jeff?
No, no, I'm sure he took this.
No, it's a woman.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that now. But seriously, out of the 8 months, this must be one of the better days.
I
I mean,
maybe.
look at her. She's engaged. The light is bright. The music is beautiful. I can hear it right now.
Yeah, maybe.
This looks like an up moment in a down period.
Well,
Anyway,
maybe.
that's my interpretation.
It's
No.
hard to process this picture without him giving the proper commentary.
I like the juxtaposition of the outsider with the music. It's totally non-medical in a medical scene. I like that.
Yeah, we don't have enough of it. When you think about those of us who've been, in the trenches of medicine, we have none of this. It's really sad.
Well, I have a friend who's a harp player, and this is one of the things that she does is she plays harp for people in hospice and in the hospital.
Yeah.
It's powerful too. I mean, they're not knowing the family, not knowing the photographer or the people in it. I can certainly look at it and personalize it in a lot of different ways, and it has an impact.
Yes. So it's clear that this is a very meaningful picture, for the year, his past year. Okay, Bill.
This was taken at Lake Quannapower. I just was driving by and saw the scene, and I thought, I think I have to take this picture. So I drove into a parking lot, parked the car, and set up the camera on a tripod for a long exposure. And you can see center right, there's Christmas lights in that. Looks like a pyramid of some type.
Oh, here.
And then you have the long exposure creates the taillights and the headlights from the cars going by, because that's a street that runs along. It's
Oh, yeah.
Main Street. I think it's Main Street. And then you have the reflection in the water, and the clouds above are kind of that's the color. It's not, they weren't gray, but they were just past, like in the blue hour, or just past the blue hour. So I thought it was a nice shot. And actually, when I put it on Facebook, I received quite a number of people who liked it. So I guess they liked it. So
Gorgeous.
It's
Yeah.
interesting how the reflections get broadened on the left side. The orange, red, and the bluish get elongated and changed from that really slim real lighting. So I'm surprised it's that different.
yeah, on the left-hand side, the orange is I don't know if that's from the car taillights way on the left, and it's just exaggerated in the water. That's got to be what it is.
Moving car.
There's lights in the background there, right beyond where the cars are. So I'm thinking that's part of it.
I think it's a moving car on the road, or moving cars in a
Could-
long exposure.
Yeah.
And then the water's moving, so it defocuses all those reflections. Gorgeous.
Even with like a stillness in the water, Rick.
Yeah, but it's not still. All of these these reflections are elongated. Look at these in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the water moving a little bit. And I think it really works.
Yeah, I took that at 20. I wrote down 25 seconds. So I guess that's
yeah.
what happened. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Flat water moves a little bit in that time.
So you carry a tripod in your car?
I'm like, it's like American Express. I don't leave home without it.
Oh, boy. Now there's another photo mode. Good for you.
Yes, yeah. So that's what I was saying about traveling with a camera and being prepared.
Fred, every shot that I take, it has to be on a tripod because I've had too much camera shake over the years, and lenses aren't that light, and you have put a battery pack on a camera, and now you're adding a lot of weight. So
Yeah,
this was at Kennebunkport. It was just a nice evening. The tree was there. They had a little bit of traffic also, but the moon was there. So I thought it was a nice composition. You had the tree, you had the center of town. I guess it's the center of town. It's near the taffy place. So I guess that's where everybody goes. So it's the center of town. And you had a partially lit clouded sky too. So had a lot of interest.
So Bill, why did you leave the pole with all the lights on the left? Why didn't you crop that out?
Well, that's a good question, Sally. And I may have left it in there for interest. I may have left it in there because I just decided, well, I couldn't cut it out. And if I cut out the pole, I'd have these lines coming in from the left-hand side going nowhere. So I figured, well, it's a city, it's a town. I'll just leave it in.
Yeah,
Well, except that the pole is crooked and the flagpole and the tree are straight, so sort of wins.
The pole really is crooked, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah? It just looks like a perspective problem in the way that it's in the picture right now.
it looks like you didn't try at all to, not that you should have, but you didn't try at all to fix the leaning, the leaning of the houses because it was a wide angle shot. And maybe if you had done that, some of these other leaning things would have been straightened as well.
Yeah,
I use Lightroom and
could have made it worse too.
again, in Lightroom, there's a feature there where you can auto adjust it. And I think it may have either cropped something out and would have left it. Again, as I said, the pole wouldn't have been in, or the lines would have been coming from the distance over to nothing. Maybe this is the best of a bad situation.
well, I'll tell you what would not work for me would be to crop out the pole and keep the lines.
Yeah, right.
Because then the lines are unexplained.
Yes, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I think it's fine. I don't mind the fact that there's this keystoning, so you see the buildings leaning, and that's fine. Now, this was also a time exposure. You can see the red light in the middle from some car that must have been maybe starting in the middle of your, or at the beginning of your exposure and getting as far as that building on the left.
You're right, Fred. And it's probably the only one of the group that I didn't jot down the time exposure.
That's another photo mode where you carry a pad and make a record.
A
Good for
pad?
you.
It's a pad.
Good for you.
A writing pad, an old fashioned.
But usually it records it in the camera and I jot it down. But when I saved it, I didn't jot it down.
One other thing to note is the rays around the moon. This suggests that you were using a small aperture.
7.1.
Well, okay,
Yeah, anything
that's-
less than wide open will produce some starring.
yeah.
And how many blades in your aperture? We can read that.
Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There must be a 9.
Looks like
it's
nine.
probably
Looks like a
9
9-bladed aperture, a nice
blades.
lens.
Yeah.
You guys are just wonderfully technical. That's great.
Aren't we?
Right.
Now, this was at a place called Lobster Cove over in Gloucester. There's a footbridge that goes across the cove. It's a lighted footbridge, actually. They decorate it with Christmas lights. And or around the time and beyond. And it was just a nice night. It was just a beautiful night. And here again, too, the water was still and the clouds were just like to see them. I didn't change anything for that. And this was a long exposure also. This was, looks like it's either 32 or 3.2. I couldn't see if the dot was in there or not.
Good.
Well, you got the right exposure because you've got shadow detail over there on the right. You can see into those dark areas and the buildings are there and you see the boats on the left. I think that's
Right.
journeyman work.
Yep.
The trees look right.
Yeah,
Looks
I-
beautiful. Do you think it would be better if you cropped it so that it's a long skinny panorama?
Well, maybe I could have. Then I would have, in looking from the right-hand side, where it goes from the right into the center, I would have had to cut just a little bit off the top if I didn't want to cut the trees out. And I would have had to cut some of the bottom out if I didn't want to cut the water out. And then I would have lost the impact of the sky from the dark shaded to the light shaded. So I don't know.
Okay, Yeah.
You know, the whole sky is working for me. I'll say that the bottom 10% doesn't do anything for me, but everything else is working fine for me. Now look, yeah. Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, this is in the same area in a different time of day. And trying to think, where is this one? This one is, yeah, it's the same area. And
it looks like you moved to the left.
I may have, I take so many photos during the course of a year. I can't remember sometimes where I was, but I know I was on the footbridge. I think I was on the earlier part of the footbridge. You're right, on the left-hand side. Yeah. And this was earlier in the evening. I think I left, I took some pictures, left and came back. And yeah, because everything else is there, the detail on the right-hand side. So it's just really a beautiful area. I mean, it's all the Gloucester nice, but when you get out, this is out towards the what is there? There's a light out there, Wigwam Light. It's I forget what the other name is, but it's really called Wigwam Light, but it's some other name that everyone knows it by. Sorry.
Boy, this shoreline is so different from Eastman. You know,
Yeah,
we've got our look, they've got their look.
every place
Both
is
work.
That's what's great about being able to travel different places, even locally travel. There's just so much difference to see. Now this is here in Melrose. This was a cygnet.
Yeah.
That the swans had just had cygnets, and I was able to get close enough with a long lens to take this shot, and quite a few others. And yeah, I just thought it was kind of touching where the one cygnet's there behind the mom and just being sheltered by the mom and safe and sort of peeking up. And so yeah, I thought it was a nice nice shot.
Yeah,
Cute.
mom and chick,
Yeah,
good subject.
okay, mine. Okay, I was surprised that in a sort of a collection or review of the past year, no one else had thought of the pandemic. And I thought, well, gee, since it's the most salient part of the year, it's certainly worth an image. This I took with my phone, and I thought it captured the spirit earlier in the pandemic when Fauci, at the election time of 2020, where Fauci was at that point almost the universal hero.
Fred, I thought this was the best of 2021.
Well, oh,
Maybe it's a leftover sign.
well, it was actually, because the thing was there into January, I think.
Just kidding.
Okay. As some of you know, I'm a real advocate of black and white, especially when color really doesn't add anything. And in June, we had a family wedding in Texas where most of us don't really visit much. I mean, it's quite far from New England. And here this is the mother of the bride. The bride is here. And this is the night before the wedding. We're in a barbecue place, and most of the guests, at least the friends and close family, are here. And I was very proud of this because you can pick out different members of the family, and they're actually quite recognizable, even though the lighting was dreadful. I mean, it was very dark in here. The only light in most of the place was coming directly overhead from these very bright lights. So it was terribly glaring, and yet the images are quite acceptable. I really loved this.
And you can see Susan in the back there.
Oh yeah, there she is.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I think with it taking the color out with just in black and white, for me, you can focus on the expressions and the faces and what they're doing more than focusing on the color or having the color just to distract me.
Yeah. Well, also in a situation like this where the lighting is really dreadful, you would tend, if you tried to photograph in color, you would have all sorts of aberrations in the color that it would be very difficult to correct. In some areas, say on this stage, there were actually some colored lights along the left edge. And then in the other areas, you would have the color representing whatever the Kelvin value of these bulbs were. So it would have been very difficult to compensate and correct the tint, the color casts. So black and white, I think, doesn't get enough use, and
Did you
certainly
take it
saved
in
this.
color and can convert it to black and white in Lightroom or something, or you
No,
took-
this was actually captured in black and white with a Leica monochrome sensor.
Fred, I think the other thing you haven't really mentioned is that the moment that you shot it, evidently a toast is being proposed. So everybody
yeah.
has their arms
Yeah.
raised and their glasses raised. And
Yes.
if you'd done it without the toast, it wouldn't be nearly as good a picture.
Well, yes, you're right. Every one of the people that came up, this was a toast period in the event. They had I don't know, more than a half a dozen people come up and say some often very funny things, and they were toasts. So this is the mother again.
Well, I have to compliment you because there's everyone's eyes are visible. You don't have anybody with their eyes closed. So you must have paid extra, Fred, for them to have their eyes open.
Well, that's luck. That's luck. Although I did take enough images of this event to possibly get all of the eyes open.
And I knew it had to be someplace other than New Hampshire or Massachusetts because everyone is maskless. And in
Well,
2021,
yeah,
that doesn't happen.
Well, this was in June in
Yeah.
Texas, in Austin. And even though we were still, we were in the pandemic, obviously at a quieter period in the pandemic, but in Texas, people don't wear masks. So,
Texas, no, they don't.
Yeah, that would be extraordinarily dangerous this January. But
Oh,
but
yeah,
but
yeah.
last June it worked.
yeah.
Timing is everything.
Yeah, well, I'm sure all of these people had vaccinated. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the nature of the population.
Yeah, in June that worked. Right now it doesn't.
No,
Wow, beautiful wedding. Look
Yeah.
at this.
Okay, so I wasn't hardly the the official photographer, so I had the license to say, well, gee, I like black and white. I'm going to shoot black and white, and you know, their official photographers, I'm sure, have some color pictures. Although I don't remember any flashes or any artificial lamps of any sort, and this was under almost a tent-like structure. So it was in the shade. The lighting was also not favorable, but black and white, I think, saves the day in this situation too.
The focus is on the bride and groom.
Yep,
And the bride stands out here
yeah.
perfectly.
Well, I did do a little tweaking, vignetting to the extreme. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
you
Yeah,
can now,
but
once I say that, you can now see it. I mean, this is properly exposed, uh, more or less. I mean, it was backlit, so that's why all of this is so bright.
no, it
And
looks
the rest-
compelling, Fred. I mean, it's great. The bride stands out, the bride and groom stand out, the rest of the guests are there, all the dark suits complement, offset the bride. It's terrific.
Yeah. Okay, and then again, black and white is wonderful. Here I've captured my grandkids. Um, you know, this is Vivian. She's 10 going on 11. Here's Miles. He's 6 going on 7. Here's Vivian as the flower girl with her mother, very proud and enjoying it. And Miles again with my other grandson, who's 10 going on 11, Zachary, and they're you know, announcing the imminent arrival of the bride. And of course, they're not walking down in unison.
Of
But
course
it was
not.
cute. No, of course not. Yeah, but I think black and white is I think for something archival like this, black and white is wonderful.
Yeah, I love those pictures. Terrific.
Okay, now since I had the license to do what I wanted to do, this is let me get rid of all this there. I don't know if you could see any of this. This is infrared. Now infrared, we're going to have a session in the summer with myself and David Greenfield and Mike Sandman, and we'll discuss infrared, the pros and the cons, and the different ways you can do it, and the applications. Typically, infrared is used for landscape and architecture. It has great utility for portraiture because the skin is portrayed as porcelain. You can take someone who has all sorts of facial, you know, may have acne, and you don't see it in an infrared picture. And it's also so different that it accentuates the features of the person, even though it's a little surreal.
So Fred, why is the groom's shoulder, it looks like he's got like a shadow on the cap of his sleeve? Is that
Well,
from
you know,
infrared?
the thing is, infrared does strange things in some situations. I cannot explain it. You'll see in the next picture that he's wearing a black suit. Now you would never, you know, here, you see they didn't change the clothing. There he is on the left with his new wife, and here they are in infrared. The portrayal of tones and colors is just very different from traditional color.
There's
or black and
less
white.
infrared emission coming from that area of his shoulder than from the rest of his suit.
Right, he must have had
For
some
whatever
pads or
reason.
something there,
I-
shoulder
I don't
pads.
know.
there's a layer of fabric folded underneath. Maybe
Yeah.
it's insulation of body heat. I don't know
Yeah.
what
No.
generates the infrared emission from
Yeah.
clothing.
I think you've got, I think, Rick, you're onto it, because folks who have tattoos, they're portrayed very differently in infrared film.
Yeah, and sometimes infrared film will show underwear underneath clothing. No, seriously, and it's
Yeah,
something to
yeah.
watch out for.
The cuffs have dark areas on them as well.
Yeah, so,
But very, very nice.
Oh, look at, there's a little dark area around the bride below her waist.
Yeah.
This thing about,
Underwear,
no, seriously, I think
Oh,
that's her
yeah.
underwear.
right.
Be a little careful with this picture, Fred.
Oh, that's cute.
It only shows in one picture. Interesting. I have infrared cameras, Fred. I'm gonna join you in the summer session, but it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
This is being
Well-
recorded. You may want to delete some of these things.
I think I
Yeah.
like to see this in black and white. I guess I'm not a fan of photos of people. I think, like you said, Fred, landscapes and buildings might look better or different. And this to me looks washed out. And I know it's infrared now. I didn't before. And my initial reaction was, gee, it's kind of washed out for black and white. But I'm glad you said it was infrared. But I think this might have been better in black and white.
Maybe. Yeah. Although whether it's washed out, you can still look at each image and you can see a real black area and a white area. So all of the tones are present. It's just that the capture is obviously different from conventional black and white.
Yeah, this is a very different tonality, very different range of tones. Even though you got both white and black, the intermediate tones are different from what
Yeah.
we expect.
Yep. Yep. And again, here's a situation where color wouldn't have added anything. And well, I think it's an archival picture. The groom's father is giving, leading a toast here with something very funny that he wrote, and everyone is breaking up. Yeah, so you're left with the emotions and the expressions, and you don't miss the fact that color is not present.
I think this is terrific.
I like this.
Fred, I would edit
Yes.
out the X on the floor.
Well, I just noticed it, or I noticed it, when I was, playing with the images. Would most people have done something about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
hired a photo coach a couple of years ago, and one of his big pieces of advice was eliminate things that aren't needed, either by cropping or editing.
Even if it's something, even if you're a stickler for realism and, well, I guess this is non-essential.
Doesn't tell you.
So,
In the real scene, your visual field will eliminate that.
yeah,
And plus, Fred, we all know the X is there, or let's say it could be there, but who wants to see it?
yeah,
And that sort of thing. And I think many people try to put too much into a photo that they lose sight of what they're really taking the picture of. To me, it's the whole scene, but I see the person at the microphone, I guess the dad, he's giving his speech. People are excited about it and laughing about it. and you can see it throughout all. Do you need everything on the left and everything on the right? Possibly not. The X, kind of comical, I guess. So it kind of adds to the comedy.
I think you got both both subjects. The couple is a subject, the father is a subject, all the other people in the background. This is a terrific photo.
They're the chorus.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got the chorus in the background.
yeah.
Terrific.
Okay, so now on to Bob's.
Okay. You said, Fred, that no one had really taken pictures of the pandemic. Everything when I look back on 2021, you can see in all the images that I gave are all of nature, of birds, of an insect. It's a product of 2021. It's a product of the pandemic. It was a year of not traveling, of not really going anywhere. It was a year of trying to sell a home in Connecticut and relocate to New Hampshire. So we were going back and forth in the pandemic, and really had my camera with me with some of the looking at different homes and condos every other week and driving back and forth. So what the year became for me was a time of getting reacquainted with an old friend and a colleague that I had worked with, who was fascinated with the life of birds, and he was fascinated with getting out into nature and walking, and I followed him. And that's how the year really progressed with that in Connecticut. He was interested, probably more so in the walk, but he was very familiar with the birds that were out there in Southbury, Connecticut. And that's how I started with this. And when I look back on the year and trying to pick out the best of things that I really favored that I took during the year, it was of nature, of the scenes that I was able to walk through. And that was a direct result of life changing because of the pandemic. And
Wow.
this image was taken. Carol and I had finally moved into Eastman and took our first walk around the pond. We were towards West Cove, and I'd say we were residents for about a little over 24 hours. And I saw a loon in the pond, and I looked up and I saw the eagle. So again, it's more special feelings for me, and being fascinated by where I was and appreciation for where I was. And when the eagle finally lost interest in the loon and was looking at us, we took off. So we just kept moving. But it was just an image for me that I really enjoyed. And the eagle stayed right where it was for quite a while. So it was not a difficult thing to take, but I was fascinated by it. And I've been away from Manhattan for many, many years, but I'm still a city kid out in nature and fascinated by it. So it's new to me in a lot of ways.
Terrific. These birds visit Eastman once in a while. There's a carcass out on the lake they're picking at.
I saw that on the listserv, and
Yeah.
I thought I saw something when I was walking around, but I didn't have a camera with me or binoculars, but I did notice that. Yeah.
I tried twice and I got crows, not eagles.
I actually think that the eagles are nesting somewhere above West Cove. They've been there for 2-3 years now.
Interesting.
Some people think they nest just north of Eastman Lake, the next area north.
Well, what would you think that line, the light line that goes from left to right under the eagle's neck, I guess?
The branches. There are branches of the tree.
Oh.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's a way out of focus branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The eyes are
of-
in focus. Very nice picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I might even be tempted with something like that, if possible, just to crop more of it, so you're only getting the eagle's head,
The head.
and just to emphasize the eye, because that I see the eye when I see the picture. I see the eye, and that's what I see.
Thank you.
I like it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think you need the body.
I mean, it's not that I dislike this. I just think that another cropping to see a different or look might
Yeah.
be an added feature.
Yep.
Now this one was in Connecticut. It was the Cardinal with Attitude, as I called it. Clearly, I tried to over sharpen this so you could see there's a haloing around the buds and the leaves and the bird itself. And I have a tendency to, in taking it and playing around too, either I'm overly focused on either putting the ISO automatic or focusing on, usually with birds, I'm trying to focus on shutter speed. And my lens goes up to 300 and that's as far as I go. So there are times, I think this one is too, where I come in a little too far with it. Again, you can see the lines around the bird a little bit. I think I just over sharpened, but it was basically a bird with attitude.
But
Do
until
you ever
you
use
said,
a tripod, Bob, at all?
No, I haven't. I knew we were talking about it, and I have two nice ones that I rarely use, and I really have the time to use it, and I really should try to do that. I'd like to.
I find that using a tripod and a 2-second delay just helps to eliminate camera shake and helps create a sharper photo.
It's short. That's what I enjoy trying to capture is textures and sharpness.
I'm betting this is a big crop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, boy.
I love this
This
one.
too.
I didn't know
Yeah.
this was happening. I didn't know this was possible.
Pure luck. But firing away and watching things on the barbed wire actually had caught my attention when I first saw the bird, and the other one came in, and I just kept clicking away. And again, I focused on the wings being a little out of focus, but the fact that the beak is in there and the mouth feeding the other bird was a nice capture.
Yeah.
Also,
Feeding a juvenile, do we think? I mean, that's not mating.
no,
No.
I don't know. I would assume so, but I don't
I
know.
would guess from the coloring, it is still a juvenile.
I think it's Grubhub.
I've never seen I've never seen aerial refueling like this.
Yeah,
Cool.
Southbury, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Same type of thing, and again with this, and I get involved with Lightroom and I play around and a little bit too random, and I should have looked back on the settings with this, what I did, because I'd like to duplicate it someday. The back is a red barn, and playing around with it, I tried to really get the birds to pop in the image a little bit, and the area behind it just completely darkened, and I wish I could say how I did it, and I should go back and look at it again and play around with it a little bit. But this was not at night. This was during the day. And
wow,
it was a red barn behind it.
The birds are lit.
Bob, is it two pictures that you put together, or is it
No.
really the
It's really
barn
one.
swallow with the cardinal?
Yeah, it was just one image. I took it with the other bird coming in. The cardinal was on the
Yeah.
branch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
And
the
I
barn-
didn't add any light to it. It was, I'm trying to remember, it was probably 11 o'clock in the morning, perhaps. And that was just the light that hit it. And when darkened the back area of it, that's what it looked like.
So the barn must be shaded to go dark like that.
Probably was to go that dark and yeah, because I really didn't work at it to darken it and to blacken it out.
Wow.
I didn't go over
Oh.
specific areas of it either to blacken it out.
This is very cool.
Yeah.
Bob, if you wanted to get the background in Lightroom, there are some sliders on the right-hand side of the screen.
Mhm.
You can lighten up darkness. You should go on. There's some YouTubes on. It'll tell you about how to use Lightroom, and I found them very helpful. You can brighten up or bring in the back by the shading aspect, by lightening, darkening, making sure the blacks are the way you want them, the lights, the highlights, all of that, and actually you can go in and even get further into it. Chromatic aberration, you can get that out, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of things you can do in it, but I would suggest a couple of YouTubes might help you with Lightroom.
Mhm. Thank you. Great. Okay. West Cove. Same thing. Just caught it. It was I have a couple of it feeding, and it caught a really nice sized bass. And I was again to say I only have one lens that I use, and it's a wide range. And I think it's 28 to 300, and I was across the pond from it in the West Cove area, and was able to catch this. What I tried to do with some of this, and I don't know how well it works for me, is to give some distance in the direction the animal is moving, or the bird is moving. It's I don't know, it gives a little more feeling of, for me, for distance and where it's headed. So I tried to do that and stretch it out to the right a little bit more with the image.
Good. I like,
It works for me. I think that's a good move, to leave room in the direction of motion.
Yes.
Fred, remember a meeting, I don't know, a year or so ago, we looked at, I think it was street photography, and I can't remember the name of the photographer, but he did the total opposite. It seemed like he didn't give any room to the motion that was going left or going right. It was almost like he bumped him up against the frame. I can't think of his name. Maybe you remember his name. In fact, I think you brought him up, or there was someone there that showed, and he's a well-known photographer.
Oh,
Yeah, he just took it as it was. I agree with you, Bob. I would do the same thing and give them space. But I was just reminded of that photographer did the other thing that I mentioned.
Interesting. Thank you.
I can't remember who that was, but I agree. This creates greater interest because it looks like it's kind of static, but when you leave this space, you know what's happening, that the bird is moving this way.
Mhm. And this little guy was a little guy along the walk along the brook trail, and I tend to notice very minute things in my life, and this one was really easy to see. The light was hitting it. I was able to catch the shadow of the legs, and the texture of the wings a little bit. There was just some nice colors to it.
I never knew they had those hairs hanging down from their small legs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Tremendous.
Oh, look at him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The detail of that and the little pincers at the end. The first thing that caught my attention were the wings, but yes, I see that now.
Holy cow. I hadn't seen those before. Cool.
Yeah. Wow.
So part of my walk.
Little biology lesson.
These are probably the leaves that are only about, what, 3 inches long? So he's about 2
Could be.
inches.
Yeah.
Probably was. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Didn't seem, I mean, I was relatively close with the lens too, but didn't seem to bother the creature.
Yeah. He's not worried about you.
No,
Yeah,
no.
fine. That's what that is.
He definitely saw you with these big eyes.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Faye. Faye, where are you? Oh dear. Don't tell
I
me we
wonder,
lost Faye.
is that on our pond? Oh, Faye's muted.
Oh, Faye,
That's McDaniel's Marsh.
It looks like McDaniel's Marsh. That's what I was just gonna guess. Beautiful.
Cool.
yeah.
Good shot,
What
Faye.
What does the bird have in its beak?
A fish.
A fish.
Yeah.
Bass or something.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to get the
Good thing.
species?
This
I'm going to call it a
the-
fish.
It's a pickerel.
well, the forward part of it looks like the back of a fish, but the front part looks like it's a mouse.
No, I think it's just the mouse of the fish.
Oh, okay.
Might be a new variant.
Hmm,
But it's beautiful because the bird, particularly the eyes, are very sharp and the background is blurred. So you blur it enough so that you can differentiate, and it's great.
And it's the loveliest time of the year to be on McDaniel's Marsh because the pickerel weed is all in bloom. It's a very nice background.
This is up in Maine on Mooselook-McGuntick. Just a morning picture.
Just a comment, it looks to me, now maybe just my eye, but it looks to me that you focused more on getting the walkway straight than the land horizontal.
Right.
Maybe it might have been just creativity on the walkway, I don't know, but yeah, that I mean, that's what I see. So and it may have been just a crooked bridge too, crooked walkway.
No, well, the water isn't, the horizon for the shoreline, it is higher on the right than the left.
All right,
So,
that happens, I guess.
yeah, so. Now, if that were corrected, then the walkway would tilt even more to the right.
Maybe it does.
I'm gonna correct it. Yeah, it looks different. It looks different if you line up the horizontal shoreline. It is canted to the right.
I guess it is. But it captures your attention. Your eye is let in on this walkway.
Yeah, and
I like
Carl,
the fog in the background.
it's important to be able to stand, to know where you're standing, and this certainly lets you know that.
I like the picture, Faye. Nice shot.
Thank you.
Okay, we know where this is.
I love the reflection of the clouds.
Yep.
Really
Yes.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a nice mirror.
Hmm.
Would it have been even better if there was someone, say, standing here fishing?
No.
It'd be a
Not in
different
the
picture.
Yes,
I
okay.
mean, the subject here to me is, the prime subject is the distance. And the dock to me is secondary in this.
The clouds.
The stillness.
Yeah, yeah, that's the picture to me. Now,
Yeah.
you could put a primary subject on the dock and it would be real different.
Yeah.
Your exposure is perfect here because you see detail all across that green landscape. And you know, if that had gone black, it would feel much different.
Shadows.
This, I have to say, it's not a great photo. I just happened to be here that night a couple of weeks ago when there was the most phenomenal sunset occurring as I was driving home.
Yeah.
And all I had with me was my iPhone 7. So this is not high quality photography. This is just, it was just so stunning. But the phone does not do it justice.
It does pretty well.
Good as is.
Yeah.
Colors are there.
Yeah.
Contrast.
Yeah.
Texture of the branches. Yeah.
And what do they say? The best camera to have is the one that you have when you're taking the picture.
The one that's with you.
The only
Right.
one I had.
Yeah, best camera is the one that's with you.
Okay, well, that's it.
Can I give you a couple, Fred?
Sure, sure.
If you'll stop sharing.
I'll stop sharing 1 second. Wait a second. How can I, wait a second. Wait a second.
Yeah, kill full screen first.
Wait, wait. Wait, wait. I'm gonna get, this is just a PDF file, so I'll just get out of it. Oh, wait, what did I, wait a second.
I think you want to kill full screen. Yeah, there we
There.
go. Oh, man. I'm afraid it's not going to work.
Oh,
Well, let's see.
why? You can't share your screen?
Just a second. In this, there's a security setting. Coming.
Okay.
See, had you sent these in, Rick, so the Fred could screen them beforehand, you wouldn't have had the security setting.
Okay, dead end. Sorry about that. So here's my picture.
Oh, oh,
I've been working on this shot many times, you know, in different times. I get foliage sometimes. This time I got some snow.
You got
And
the
I
bridge.
included the whole dam this time, whereas
Yeah.
often I've shot from right over the dam.
And
So I'm
my
gonna keep-
condo. Yeah, my condo. is
Yeah,
right
oh
there.
yeah, oh yeah, I got you. And I got all of Eastman, and I think Eastman looks terrific these days. I'll just leave it
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very
Thank
nice.
Oh, they're always great.
But thank you, you're welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll have to find out where the recording is so I can share it.
Oh,
So-
talk to Lori. She'll need to pull it from the cloud and get it to you. She can do
Okay,
that.
I'll-
She's a pro.
Yep, right. Okay, well, good night, everyone.
Good
Next month, we're going to meet and discuss the ways in which